Ladies and gentlemen, fear is a trickster. It whispers in your ear, makes your palms sweat, and locks you inside an invisible cage. Shyness, its close companion, makes you feel like an outsider in your own life. And the cruelest part, these emotions exist only in your mind, yet they dictate your entire world. But what if I told you that fear and shyness are illusions, that they thrive only when you resist them, that confidence isn't something you acquire, but something you uncover when you stop playing their game? Stay with me, because by the end of this talk, fear and shyness will no longer be your masters. You will see through them. And once you do, they will lose their grip on you forever. What is fear, really? If you look closely, you'll see that it is nothing more than a series of thoughts about what might happen. It's never about what is. The moment you step into the present, fear dissolves. Why? Because it cannot exist where reality is. Consider this. Have you ever been afraid of something and then realized afterward that your fear was worse than the thing itself? That's because fear is like a mirage. It looks real until you get close enough to touch it. Shyness is the fear of being seen. But here's the twist. No one is looking at you as much as you think they are. Everyone is too busy worrying about themselves. The self you think others are judging is nothing but a mental construct, a mask you hold up and mistake for your real face. Drop the mask. Let yourself be seen. When you stop trying to control how people perceive you, you become effortlessly charismatic. Life is unpredictable. The more you try to control it, the more you suffer. Fear thrives in the gap between your expectations and reality. But what if, instead of resisting uncertainty, you danced with it? Confidence is not the absence of fear, it's moving forward with it. It's understanding that every great speaker, artist, or leader feels fear, but they move anyway. Action dissolves fear faster than thinking ever will. Shyness often comes from overthinking. The moment you hesitate, you freeze. The answer? Don't try to be confident, just move. Speak before you think. Smile before you analyze. Act before fear has time to settle in. Think of a river. It doesn't try to flow, it just does. Confidence works the same way. The less effort you put into being confident, the more confident you become. Imagine for a moment that no one's opinion mattered, not even your own. How free would you feel? Fear and shyness dissolve when you stop measuring yourself by external reactions. The irony is, the moment you stop seeking approval, you get it effortlessly. The final truth is this: confidence isn't built by conquering fear. It comes when you no longer see fear as an enemy. The moment you stop resisting shyness and simply let it be, you realize it has no real power. It was never a monster. It was only a shadow. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you feel fear, don't run. The next time you feel shy, don't shrink. Instead, step toward it. Look it in the eye and laugh. Because the joke is on fear. It was never real to begin with. Shyness is the weight of self-awareness pressing too heavily on the mind. It's the feeling that every move you make is being observed, analyzed, and judged by others. But in reality, this perception is an illusion. People are not watching you as closely as you think. They are too caught up in their own worlds, battling their own doubts and insecurities. The irony is that while you believe the spotlight is on you, every other person is lost in the same illusion, believing the spotlight is on them. The fear of judgment is a projection of your own mind, not an objective truth. Imagine walking into a room full of strangers. Immediately, the mind races. What do they think of me? Am I standing the right way? Did I say something stupid? This mental noise creates a barrier, disconnecting you from the present moment. Instead of experiencing life, you are busy narrating it from the perspective of an imaginary audience. The problem isn't that people are judging you. The problem is that you are judging yourself. You have constructed an image of yourself in your mind and are now afraid of how that image might be perceived. But the truth is, no one can see you the way you see yourself. Your insecurities are invisible to the world unless you highlight them. When you stop feeding this illusion, a natural ease arises. Confidence isn't about forcing yourself to be fearless. It's about realizing there was never anything to fear in the first place. The less you think about yourself, the more effortless your interactions become. When you remove the idea of a self that needs to be protected, shyness dissolves. In its place, you find freedom, not the kind you achieve, but the kind that was always there. Fear thrives in the spaces between what we know and what we do not. It whispers warnings, creating imaginary catastrophes in the mind. The unknown becomes a monster, not because it is dangerous, but because it cannot be controlled. And control is what the mind craves: certainty, predictability, a clear roadmap. But life does not work that way. The future is a blank canvas, and fear tries to paint it with familiar patterns, no matter how limiting they may be. Yet the most beautiful moments of life arise not from control, but from surrender. Think of music. If a song was completely predictable, would it be interesting? Think of dance. If every step was planned with no room for spontaneity, would it feel alive? Life, too, is a dance, and the more we resist its uncertainty, the more rigid and unnatural we become. The irony is that confidence does not come from eliminating fear, but from stepping forward despite it. Every leap into the unknown, every conversation started, every risk taken, every uncharted experience chips away at the illusion of fear. It is not the unknown itself that is frightening, but our resistance to it. Consider a child learning to walk. They do not fear falling because they do not expect perfection. They stumble, they rise, and they move forward, not through analysis, but through participation. This is the essence of confidence, not a state of constant certainty, but a willingness to engage with life without demanding guarantees. The unknown is not your enemy. It is the stage upon which all of life unfolds. The sooner you stop clinging to the need for control, the sooner you discover that fear was never a cage, only a doorway waiting to be walked through. Fear is a mirage. It appears real, feels real, and yet, the moment you step into it, it dissolves. It is not the thing itself that frightens you, but the anticipation of it. The mind projects scenarios, exaggerates dangers, and convinces you that something terrible awaits. But how often has fear been right? How many times have you dreaded a conversation, an event, or a challenge, only to realize afterward that it was not nearly as terrifying as your mind made it seem? Fear exists not in reality, but in imagination. Think of the last time you hesitated before taking action. Perhaps you wanted to speak up in a meeting, approach someone, or try something new. Your heart raced, your body tensed, and 1,000 thoughts flooded your mind. What if I embarrass myself? What if I fail? What if they reject me? But the moment you finally acted, something interesting happened. The fear vanished. Why? Because fear cannot exist in movement. It needs hesitation to survive. The second you step into the present, fear has no choice but to dissolve. This is the great irony. What we fear most is often just a doorway to freedom. Every time you face fear, it shrinks. Every time you avoid it, it grows. This means that the only way to defeat fear is not to fight it, but to step toward it. Let it be there. Feel it fully, but do not obey it. The moment you stop running from fear, you will see it for what it is, just a shadow cast by a mind too attached to certainty. And once you see through it, you will wonder why it ever had power over you at all. Shyness and fear are born in hesitation. The moment you pause to analyze, to weigh the risks, to predict every possible outcome, you create an opening for doubt. The mind, given even a sliver of space, fills it with reasons to retreat. It convinces you that you are not ready, that the moment is not right, that you must prepare more before you act. But this is a trap. The more you think about action, the harder it becomes to take. Look at nature. Does a river stop to consider its path? Does a tree hesitate before growing? Life moves effortlessly when it does not resist itself. Confidence is not something you achieve by force. It is something you uncover when you stop interfering with your own natural flow. The key is to act before the mind has a chance to pull you back. Speak before you think too much. Move before hesitation settles in. Stop making confidence a goal and instead allow yourself to exist naturally in the moment. There is no need to try to be confident. Effort itself implies struggle, and struggle only reinforces the belief that something is missing. A bird does not try to fly, it simply flies. The same principle applies to human interaction. The moment you stop trying to control how you appear, how you sound, or how you are perceived, your natural presence emerges. And that presence is far more powerful than any rehearsed attempt at confidence. The secret to overcoming fear and shyness is not to fight them, but to move in spite of them. The less you force, the more naturally you flow, and in that flow, confidence arises effortlessly, like a river finding its way to the sea. Fear and shyness are often rooted in one thing: the concern over what others think. It is the silent prison that keeps people from speaking up, from expressing themselves, from fully living. The mind creates an invisible audience, watching, judging, ready to approve or reject. But here is the truth: people are far less interested in you than you think. Everyone is the center of their own universe, preoccupied with their own insecurities, their own self-image, their own fears. The judgment you fear is mostly a reflection of your own self-doubt, not an objective reality. What happens when you stop seeking validation, when you stop measuring yourself through the eyes of others? A great weight lifts. You begin to act freely, not because you have built confidence, but because you have removed the illusion that you ever needed permission to be yourself. You see through the game, one in which everyone secretly hopes for approval, yet no one is truly keeping score. The paradox is that the moment you stop caring about impressing others, you naturally become more compelling. People are drawn to those who are at ease with themselves, those who do not ask for permission to exist. Imagine living as if no external opinion could define you. How would you move? How would you speak? What would you create? When you remove the fear of judgment, life expands. Conversations become effortless. Opportunities multiply. The need to hide dissolves. You are not here to perform, to fit into expectations, to adjust yourself like a piece of furniture in someone else's room. You are here to express, to experience, to be. The moment you stop living through borrowed eyes, you realize you are always free. The pursuit of confidence often backfires. The more you chase it, the further it seems to drift. The more you try to defeat fear, the stronger it becomes. This is the paradox: what you resist persists. Fear and shyness feed on your attempts to suppress them, because in doing so you confirm their importance. But what happens when you stop fighting? When you let fear be there without resistance? A strange thing occurs, it loses its grip. Think of water in your hand. If you try to hold it tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you relax your grip, it remains effortlessly. Confidence works the same way. It is not something you acquire, but something that emerges when you stop interfering. The truth is, you were never lacking confidence, you were simply blocking it with your overthinking, your need for control, your endless concern about how you appear. But what if you stopped? What if you allowed fear to rise without reacting to it? What if you let go of the belief that you must be fearless to act? Letting go does not mean giving up, it means surrendering the illusion that you need to be in control. When you step forward without demanding certainty, you discover something remarkable. Fear is just a passing cloud, not the sky itself. It comes and goes, but it does not define you. The moment you stop trying to defeat fear, it weakens on its own. The key to effortless confidence is not to become fearless, but to no longer see fear as an obstacle. It was never a barrier, only a doorway. And once you stop resisting, you walk through it with ease, realizing that freedom was always on the other side. Fear and shyness have always been illusions, not real forces, but shadows cast by the mind. They exist only when you hesitate, when you analyze, when you try to control something that was never meant to be controlled. The moment you stop treating them as enemies, they lose their power. Confidence is not something you build, it is something that naturally arises when you stop interfering with your own flow. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, do not run. Do not resist, step forward. Feel the discomfort, but move anyway. Let the world see you as you are, without masks, without apology. The moment you stop fearing fear itself, you will realize a truth so simple, so liberating, that you will laugh there was never anything to fear at all.